What is up, you guys? Welcome to the Scoutology podcast. I am your host, Quentin Mayo, and also the founder of Scoutology. And today, live from Tulum, Mexico, we are talking about Qatar's leading scorer, the leading scorer in the FIBA U16 Asian Championship, Mohamed Ndao. Now, you know what our tagline here is. We are discovering and developing the future of basketball. This is going to be a good one because Mohamed Ndao is a player who I'm really interested in, an intriguing prospect, an encouraging young man. His numbers speak for themselves, but the way in which he's going about doing what he's doing on the court is something I just have to tell you guys about. So before we get started, though, I want to encourage you guys to do a few things. Number one, if you're watching right now on either one of these beautiful cameras that I have set up here in Mexico, it's a nice morning here in Mexico. And if you've also heard the other podcasts I did on Yasim, then you know that the two-pack kind of got delayed because there was a storm coming right towards me while I was doing yesterday's podcast. So this is a Tulum morning, but I saw a lightning strike. My camera's overheating yesterday, so I was like, let me hurry up and wrap this up. But we're back the following morning to get this two-pack done. Mohamed Ndao from Qatar. I want you guys to listen to this. Now, these stats could have been crazier, but we'll get into that. He averaged 26 points per game in the FIBA U16 Asian Championship. That led all scorers in the FIBA U16 Asian Championship. He averaged 26 points. He shot 55% from the field, 29.3%, almost 30% from three-point land. He shot 58% from the free throw line. We will talk about all of these things, of course, in depth. 13 rebounds per game. He led the tournament in rebounds. Mind you, I'm sorry, guys. He's a 6'4" guard, and I'll get more into his position in a second. 13 rebounds, that led the FIBA U16 participants. 3.3 assists, 2.7 blocks, second most blocks in the tournament. 1.6 steals. He turned the ball over 4 times a game. He finished with the highest efficiency of any participant in the tournament, at 216 efficiency. Played 7 games in Qatar. He finished with 7 double-doubles in Qatar. Obviously a leader in that category as well. Qatar, they made their first ever quarterfinals appearance in history, and they did so in dramatic fashion in a comeback win over India. What an amazing game. It's on YouTube. I encourage you guys to go check it out. Abdullah Yasim and Mohamed Ndao, and you know, I'm from DC, DMV, the DMV area, so we call Mohamed Mo. We're going to call him Mo, and I see his friends call him Mo as well, so we're going to call him Mo. When I'm in DC, they call me Mo. The quarterfinals appearance was phenomenal. In 2022, Qatar lost to India 77-51. Ndao had 13 in that game, and Yasim went scoreless. And then this time around, they both combined for 60 points in that game. Ndao recorded 29 points, 11 boards, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. And Abdullah Yasim finished with 31 points and made 7 3-pointers. If you want to know about this Yasim kid I'm talking about, Abdullah Yasim kid I'm talking about, make sure you go check out the podcast I just did. It's probably already out. He's a hooper in that jump shot. I call it a sharpshooting point guard, undersized with huge feet, which, why am I bringing up his feet? You got to go check out the podcast to get that information. But let's dive right in. First of all, his frame, 6'4", solid frame, long arms, long legs, and he can take a beating. He's a physical, I would call him borderline physical specimen for his age. He's 16 years old. He is not afraid of contact. And I call him, you know, if you play 2K, you kind of understand like the classifications of players. Right now he's a pure slasher. He's getting downhill, he's getting to the rim. And one thing I really appreciate about him in this setting is that not only is he physical enough to get through and take the beating and the pounding of getting downhill, going through the lane, going through arms, going through bodies, and finishing at the rim through contact, initiating the bump in contact, but he has a soft touch around the rim. He almost shot 70% from two-point range. And that is a testament to how good of a finisher he is. He's an excellent finisher with a soft touch. Now, he is right-hand dominant, but he's a really good finisher, a bruiser with a soft touch. I love that because a lot of times you see guys who like to utilize their physicality and their body and their frame but all that power makes it hard for them to kind of tone the notch down a little bit to finish at the rim. So they don't have, if you understand what I'm saying, like if you're strong but you don't have the touch. But he has both. He has soft touch, utilizes the angles on the backboard well, but he is right-hand dominant. So that's my one gripe about his finishing, is that he needs to increase his proficiency in the left hand, but he has a really soft touch otherwise and can finish through contact, does not mind getting down in the paint, in the trenches, and doing the dirty work. And speaking of his athleticism and his frame, he is extremely athletic, oftentimes the most athletic player on the floor. However, it's sometimes hard for him to display just how athletic he is because of, and I spoke about this in the Abdullah Yassim podcast, because of the lack of intricacy in the sets that the team runs, and also like surrounding talent. So with him and Abdullah being the two primary contributors in the scoring department, defenses typically load up on him, and the teammates aren't necessarily the best help to take attention off of him. So in those situations where maybe you're in the half court and you get one-on-one situations, all you have to do is beat your man and maybe meet a center at the rim. Typically he's going through 3, sometimes 4 defenders to get to the rim. So you can't necessarily always see those high-flying finishes, above the rim finishes, but he does utilize his athleticism to finish above the rim, to finish through contact, to be the first one off the floor, to attack the boards on rebounds. His athleticism is there. He's, like I said, was oftentimes the most athletic player on the floor in all of the games that I saw during the FIBA U16 Asian Championship. His scoring, he's a raw scorer. Like I said, he's a slasher. He's going to get to the rim. And I want you guys to think about this. And we'll talk more about this as we get into the shooting breakdown of his game. Averaging 26 points per game, but 26 points per game. And shooting, I want to say, a good amount of free throws per game. I want to say it was 9 free throws per game, maybe 11. He's taking a lot of free throws because he's taking a lot of beatings, but he's shooting less than 60% from the free throw line. But he's averaging 26 points. Catch that for me. Averaging 26 points, high volume free throw shooter, but shooting less than 60% from the charity stripe. That means you have to be a really good finisher, right? Because if you're not making your free throws and you're shooting less than 30% from three-point range, but you're averaging 26 points, where are you getting your points from? That's how good of a finisher he is. Now, I've already alluded to it, so I got to go into it. And we're talking about his scoring in general. He's a really raw scorer. You can tell he's comfortable getting downhill. He has a nice first step for his size. He's physical. He can typically dominate the players that he's coming in contact with, even though he's 6'4". Like, he's a 6'4" guard with I call him a guard out of necessity because I feel like he's more of a small forward on the small forward track, but he's been a guard out of necessity because of his point production and his skill being above his surrounding teammates. But he doesn't have a great jump shot right now. His shot discipline is very, very lax right now. What I mean with his shot discipline is a lot of his shots look different, and he's not consistently doing the right things that increase the likelihood of him making the shots that he's attempting. So number one, his feet. If you look at his jump shot, his left foot is typically aimed away from the basket while his right foot is typically toward the basket. His base is a little too wide. Those are two things. Like your shot, if we're looking from bottom up, you have to have consistent feet and a consistent base. Those things are not consistent right now in his jump shot. He's also a side shooter, so he's loading off of his right elbow and turning his body. He's a side shooter, and that can sometimes cause difficulty and consistency with his jump shot as well. He goosenecks, so a gooseneck means he's typically pushing his shot. He could get more arc and lift on his shot and finish true cookie jar, really exaggerating his follow-through, like we saw from Abdullah Yassim, who was the sharpshooting point guard that is his teammate, really exaggerating and elevating that follow-through. He's more of a gooseneck, so he's more of a push shot. And because he's so athletic, it seems as though he's maybe releasing a little prematurely and getting maybe too much lift, jumping too high on his jump shot. Just some things that we have to tweak in his jump shot to help him become a proficient shooter. But he did have moments where he got hot from deep. He just needs to be put into position to be coached by a shooting coach and a skills coach to enhance those things. We're talking about a 16-year. We're talking about a sophomore here. who is able to score 26 points off the strength of him being athletic, having a soft touch, and having a pretty decent handle for his size. Like I said, he's not a true guard, even though he's listed as a guard. He's more of a tweener. He's a 3, playing the guard out of necessity. Right-hand dominant driver as well. Not going to see a lot of pull-ups from him. Even though he did kind of pull him out a couple times, he's more confident in getting downhill and to the rim. So all in all, the jump shot needs some work. But the athleticism is there, the frame, the physicality is there. His finishing is good at this moment. Needs to be more left-hand proficient in ball handling and in finishing. His defense, with those super long arms and his physicality and his frame, he could make for a disruptive defender, specifically at the guard position. If he wants to continue to pursue the guard track, it is there for him. I just think that, like I've said a billion times, it's been out of necessity that thus far. But in terms of guarding 1s and 2s, 6'4" with super long arms, and as built as he is at this age, he could really be a force guarding 1s and 2s. Now, in the same way I talk about his defense in terms of being a force, laterally he can be taken advantage of. And I wondered sometimes when watching his film, is it because of a lack of focus thing, like lack of focus in terms of like energy preservation for the offensive end, since he really was the number 1, maybe sometimes the number 2 option on offense? Or is it a foot speed thing? And I don't think it's necessarily a foot speed thing, because he has a decent first step going against defenders. So I think it's more of a willingness to play defense the full duration of the game. But again, when you go and look at some of the games that he was playing in, him and Abdullah were the only guys out there. And you can understand being the guys on a team. It's like, bruh, it's tiring out here playing this brand of basketball. But one thing I do want to say in response to that is he played pretty much every minute of every game, and there were very few times and moments where I was like, he's mailed it in. Like, he's fighting for rebounds. Like, look at it, 13 rebounds per game. He's crashing the glass hard. He is high energy. He's wiry. He's always the first guy off the floor on the boards. He's boxing out. He's getting putbacks. He's chasing down blocks on the fast break, and then he's taking over on the offensive end, doing everything he can to put points on the board for his team. I said I was going to keep it to 10 minutes. I don't know if that felt like maybe it's a little bit of a rush for you guys. It felt a little rush for me just because I'm so excited about him, but I'm trying to stay true to my time limit. I'm already up on 20 minutes at this point. But I think all in all, Mo is a prospect, and so is Abdullah, but I'm going to speak about Mo here. Mo is a prospect that has all the tools to translate to the American brand of basketball, the American style of basketball, and be successful here. I think he deserves the attention of I think he deserves the same attention that American sophomores and his peers are getting, but he's just in Qatar. I think he is an excellent overseas prospect, and that he needs to come over to the States and he needs to be immersed in a higher level of competition, a higher level of basketball that not only challenges him, but also forces him to or almost expedites his growth as a basketball player, especially if the NBA is his goal. Is that something that he wants to be as his final destination? I think if the faster he can get over to the States and play a more competitive brand of basketball, it will go a long way for him. His shot, I mean, he seems like a hard worker. So, and he put up, like, I want to say, what was he putting up? How many threes? He was shooting 6 threes per game. Like, I think that his shot has an opportunity to be good. It's not terrible, but it definitely needs some work. He needs a shot coach. He needs a skills coach to help develop his ball handling, to help develop how he's reading defenses. Sometimes you can tell, like, he's kind of a little tunnel vision to his slashing abilities. So there's this one play that we were breaking down the other day. He's right wing, defender in front of him. The center's not in ice, so he's hanging around the free throw line, and then we have the help side defender from the opposite corner, kind of cheating over but not really committed. He goes tween pull-up in that situation. If you can imagine what I'm saying while I'm describing it to you, he goes tween pull-up, instead of beating his defender off the dribble, taking him to the rim, knowing that the center's not in ice, so he really can't contest the shot. And even if he did, the center didn't look like he was built like that. He wasn't a foot or anything. He was like a kind of round 6'7" center. Like, you could have taken him, especially with his size. And even if the center decided to come and help down, it's an easy drop off to a 2 to his teammate, or a corner find to an open 3. Stuff like that. It just comes with, number one, being a student of the game, and also having the right people around you helping you develop your knowledge of basketball. So I think he is one of the players that I saw in the FIBA U16 Asian Championship that deserves a U.S. look, that deserves some sort of attention in terms of how we are grading these overseas prospects. Not a lot of people are looking to Qatar and Asia for basketball players, but they are there. And Mohamed Ndao is proof. Full scouting report, full breakdown available on my Scoutology page on Substack, the landing page, the home page, the home site of Scoutology. Scoutology.substack.com. 10 category scouting report breakdown and notes in detail about who he is as a player and what I think he can be in the future. If you enjoyed this content, as always, leave a like, share, subscribe, leave a review, and that's it. Yo, the Qatar 2023, the FIBA U16 Asian Championship was lit. I don't see many people talking about it. I know the NBL started. I know the French League has started, the LMB. We got Mexican League basketball going on here, Spanish League. Like, we got a lot of basketball starting. The NBA is right around the corner. I don't see anybody talking about FIBA U16 Asia. It was some hoopers there. Shout out to New Zealand who won. Or was it New Zealand or Australia? It might have been Australia. I think they hit the 3-peat. Shout out to Australia or New Zealand. Whoever won, congratulations. How can I say y'all gotta check it out? I don't even know the winner. That means I need to go ahead and sign off. Until next time, it's been your boy Quentin Mayo. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Scoutology podcast. I encourage you to become a paid subscriber as well on Substack, because you get full access to the archives of scouting reports, Q&As with me, film breakdown. So much more is available when you become a paid subscriber. And I also just am thankful for those who choose to support me in that way. Who do you guys want me to scout next? If you are overseas and you're watching this, who do you think is worthy of some looks here from, this is not the United States, I'm in Tulum, but who do you think deserves a look, like an American look? Those who can play and should be on the track to play in the NBA. Who do you guys think? Let me know. I'll check them out. Until next time, God bless. I love you guys. Peace.